The recording is underway. I'm Sarah Stalker with Contact North, and I'm just here to help support this webinar for the Ontario Native Literacy Coalition. It's my pleasure to welcome Deborah Martin-Abel, who is your presenter this afternoon in this third of the Ontario Native Literacy Coalition's series on math. So if I may, I'll pass it over to you, Deborah. Welcome.
Thank you. It says this meeting is being recorded. Do I just press continue?
You just go ahead. I have it underway.
Okay,
you don't have to do. Okay, you can click continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Michelle asked me to do this math webinar. I've never done one before, so this is new. And she asked for quite a bit to be included, so I'm not sure if we're going to get through everything. But I based it on exploration and practical applications for teaching mathematics. I teach at a local school on the reserve here. I've been teaching for 32 years. And before that, I was a TA, or we called it at that time an EA, for 5 years. So I've been in the education system for 37 years. It's not working now. Oh, I have to use my mouse, I guess. Just a warm-up activity for those of you. This is a painted cube, and it's 3 by 3 by 3, and you take that cube and you dip it in paint, and the cube's all together, but I pulled it apart so that you could see what the inside is usually white, and I wanted you to know how many people can see that if there's 3 sides that are painted red. I'll give you a little bit to, it's kind of like a warm-up activity.
And I'm going to watch for any comments in the chat and answers to your question, Deborah. So we invite people to let us know. Nicolette has said her answer is there are 4 in each corner of the cube.
Good.
And Denise has said she sees 12.
Okay.
And Janina has written 8.
Yes. It's 8. Does Janina want to share how she knows it's 8?
And Janina, if you'd like to, I can, if you'd like to speak, I can give you access to a microphone. If you'd like that, just click the raise hand icon. All right, I will do that now. Where did you go? Hang on. There you go. Okay. Now you should be able to speak to us if you want to.
Hear me now?
I sure can.
So I went off the first answer. The first answer was 4, but I saw 4 at the front, and I thought if there's 4 at the front, there must be 4 at the back as well. So then I knew it was 8.
Yes, that's correct. So this is just like a little warm-up activity that you can use to get your kids thinking, or your students thinking about math. prepare your students to learn. That's the first thing that we need to do. We need to move this here. What you want to do is you want your kids to believe in themselves. Because usually when we get students, they've already had all this prior things that happen in their life that gives them a sort of bad look on math view. And so like you need to prepare your students to learn math. So if you're going to cut wood, you sharpen your blade, whatever you're using, like a saw or axe or whatever. So that's what we're doing. And that's what we do in math resources. We try to get the kids, students to believe in themselves and to change their attitude from, I can't do math, I'm not good at math. And I even have like little erasers that say, I love math. And they said, well, why do you have those erasers? And I said, well, someday maybe you'll believe that you love math too. And I was talking with my helper and she had said that she noticed that too, that kids are starting to say, oh, I like math, I'm good at math now, and stuff like that after a little bit. So at our school, students exercise every morning. They walk and it gives them a chance to talk with their classroom. Like let's say they had some kind of experience on the bus on the way there. So it gives them a chance to release that before they start learning. And at our school, we also have a lot of mask breaks. I heard this on the intercom. And it said, and we thought it was saying they're having math breaks. And I'm like, oh, great, that's ace. But it was mask breaks. The other thing is forget the past. A lot of people say, well, I've heard this before, and their cup is full, and so they're not gonna listen and learn new things because their cup is full. But if you empty your cup and you come with an open mind, then you can learn from your mistakes. That's what we always say. And like, okay, so if you get everything right on a page, then you haven't learned anything because you already knew that. You're just showing me what you know. But if you make mistakes and then we teach those things, and so we try to get the kids to think that mistakes aren't bad. It's an opportunity to learn. The next thing is to move around and be active while you're learning. Like get up and get your manipulatives that you think that you'll be using, and just move around in class, and to have that ability. I know it's a little bit hard now with COVID, but you know, some movement and to be active learners is helpful. The next thing is to change your state of mind. If you tell yourself I'm not good at math, you can't learn, well, that's self-fulfilling. That's what's going to happen. You're not going to change, or you're not going to learn. Change is a mindset. Be mindful of what you say to yourself. If you keep saying those things, then you're going to believe those things. So your mind is always eavesdropping, and so just be careful what you say. And if you want to change, speak the change. Like you say, oh, I want to be a happy person. Then say you're happy. And then eventually it will happen. And I know in reality, there are those people that try to steal your joy, your productivity, and your peace. Don't let them. Be strong and just keep going. And then the last thing on here is learn with the intention of teaching. So if you leave here and you're going to teach somebody else, like a colleague or somebody in your family, about what you learned today, I think that you'll ask more questions, pay attention, and make notes so that you'll remember kind of what you are listening to today, and you'll be more focused. And I was listening to Jim Quick, and he reinforces those ideas that I just talked about that we do in Math Resource. It's unleash your super brain, your to learn faster, and it's got be fast, and that's what the believe, exercise, forget, active, state, and teaching is all about with those letters. Create a learning environment. Problem solving helps students think and believe in themselves, because once a student becomes a problem solver, if you say, oh, I don't think that's right or whatever, then they'll say, no, I'm right, and they'll prove it. And understand. So problem solving helps you understand rather than memorize math. Because you can have a student that's really smart, but all they've done is memorize things. They don't internalize it or memorize it. And math is not a spectator sport. So get actively involved. Okay. My helper and I, we try to create a place for learning that's calm and cozy. We put a fireplace on the smart board. Well, it's not a smart board, but it's our smart board. It's just a board that and we have lamps. We don't put the light on, we put lamps on, and then just to like when people come into our room, they go, oh, that's so it's so nice in here and stuff. And I would have taken a picture of our room, but I haven't been at work lately because I've been off sick. Sure that was off. Make the learning place, make a learning plan once you gather information on your students. Get to know your students, find out how they learn, what they've learned, play games, talk. That's the most effective way. Observe, and most of all, listen. Our students show us how they do things on the floor when they're problem solving. We give a diagnostic test to know where they're at. And this is the test that we give them. It's key math. It's kind of blurry on here. But first I want to find out what they know, and then use that information to create an individual plan for them, so that they start off with work that so that they can be successful, and then later we start increasing the difficulty, and we teach them what they don't know from the test, from the results. And then there's differentiated math. How to help students achieve in mathematics and believe in themselves. There's no easy formula or strategy, and there's no one size fits all. My suggestions are to be real and honest, follow simple rules, and have realistic expectations. Hands-on learning and use manipulatives whenever possible. Use visuals and procedures, like how to do something on the board or on the wall so that students can look up and see how to get something done. Look and listen and point out their possibilities. Provide opportunities for differentiated learning. Ask students to explain their ideas, acknowledge their thinking, and build on from where they are at. I always incorporate storytelling with math connections, which are real. Allow time to wonder. Create a safe learning space where it's okay to make mistakes and let them learn from them. Allow students to feel valued, trusted, and in control of their learning. Empower them to be successful and always have hope. I have this little story about this one girl. She was having difficulty, and I noticed she had difficulty through school. And she came to me and she goes, Ms. Martin-Abel, you always helping us, and even though sometimes we give you a hard time, and this is grade 8, right? And like she said, like, how come? Like, and I said, because I have hope. And here's a little thing for differentiated learning, because all through school, a lot of students have trouble with dividing. And so I wanted to, I've been on the search for a long time for something to help kids with dividing. So this is something I found out.
So I'm going to show you how to divide using dots.
Let's see if I can turn that up.
So we have 2,436 divided by 12. So when we change up the way we write it with this symbol. And then we put the divisor here, which is here. And then the dividend is in here. And then on top is the answer, which is called the quotient. So now we're going to make the dots. And it's done in place value. So we make the divisor first. So in the ones column, there's 2 dots. And in the tens column, there's 1 dot. And there's a line to separate the 2 place values. So we could start either way. So we can do 2 dots to represent the thousands, 4 dots in the hundreds place value, and then 3 in the tens, and 6 in the ones. Okay, now we're going to start the dividing. So we're going to circle when we see 1 dot and 2 dots with a bar between. So there's 1 dot and 2 dots and a bar between. And then we have to record that here. Wherever it ends, that's where we put the tally mark. So here's another one. Okay. Now we have to look for some more. So here's 1 dot, 2 dots, and 1 dot, 2 dots, and then 1 dot, 2 dots. Okay, now we record, that's our answer, our quotient. So now we just write that in the question. So there's 3 dots above the 6. See the 6? So there's 3 here in the ones column. See, there's nothing here, so we have to write a 0. And then 2 in the hundreds. So the answer is 203. So that's telling us that there are 12 groups in 200. I mean, there's 203 groups of 12. Let me do it again.
And that's that. I had to make that on YouTube, and I don't know what I think I call it, or math resource with Mrs. Martin Abel or something on YouTube. And what we always try to do is teach culture and math. So we here the students made pottery. So I was teaching the kids are always, and I always try to think of something, because kids were having a very hard time with congruence and symmetry, distinguishing the two, or even knowing what congruence means. Same size, same shape. So I came up with making this pumpkin. It's hollow inside. So what you do is you make 2 pinch pots, exactly the same size, same shape, and then you put them together along a line of symmetry, and then you stick a hole in the bottom so that it doesn't explode in the kiln. And then after that, you make your pumpkin shape out of that. And you see, some are bumpy and some are different and stuff like that. And I just also tell them that nothing's perfect. So it's okay if you have bumps in your pumpkin. And then also we talk about the circle, and that I use the wampum belt with the circle with the 50 chiefs. So we talk about that. And then we also have numeracy night, where it's called We Scare Hunger, and myself and Mrs. Volks works with this, and it's a program where families donate, and we give those green boxes, and usually that's completely filled by the end of the night, and there's some underneath, and we give those to the community program for food, the food bank. And kids, I'll talk about this, that's the entrance to our school. And on the other side, there's like guessing games, and it's just a really fun night. And lots of staff help during that time. And former students and my math group, they're in charge of the whole thing. So I say, okay, we got to do this. So they become like in charge of the whole night. Another thing that I do is learning styles. And I had a video there, but I think it's going to take too much time. And this highlighted one is kind of like an adult version of finding out your learning style. And the person I work with, we changed it to suit our needs, but it's basically the same kind of question. And it says, do you remember best by listening to your teacher talk about a lesson or subject? And we put often, sometimes, or rarely. I think the other one says seldom, and kids didn't know what seldom meant. And also we changed the questions because The adult one says something about smoking or something. So anyways. And then you just fill, okay, question 1, where it says question 1, you put how many points it's worth. So often is worth 5, sometimes is worth 3, and rarely is worth 1. And you just check off one spot. And then you fill this all in and you add it up. And then the highest mark is what kind of learner the person is that you're giving the survey to, or if you want to do it yourself and find out what kind of learner you are. What I wanted to add with this one right here, it says there's some people who don't believe in learning styles, but that's okay. I believe we should always include the learning styles in your teaching anyway, so that you cover all areas. And I just highlighted a few areas, maybe you know what kind of learner you are already, and that's your strength, right? This is your learning strength, what you should go by. And then here's some examples that would help you learn better. You learn by reading and seeing pictures, things that are rich in imagery. You're attracted to color. And if you're a visual learner, you should ask to sit in the front so that you can see what's going on all the time. Draw pictures when you're problem solving. The next thing is auditory. That's you for listening. Read to yourself. Use headphones and listen to things. It's hearing is the so you really have to pay attention to what the person is saying. So always make sure you get rid of the distractions, your phone or whatever, you know. And a lot of our kids are tactile and kinesthetic learners. They learn by touching and doing. It's a lot of hands-on. That's why manipulatives are encouraged so much. And they also kind of do like the finger spelling, like if you need to spell a word, they're like spelling it here or spelling it on their desk. So learning strategies, hands-on learning, that's making the pumpkins. It teaches patience and caring and a lot of math. The other thing was I asked the students, we made pumpkin pies from the stuff on the, oh, that's something else. Just, okay, I'll wait for that one. And there's this here where it says active learning, that's Murph, and their coins and how big they are is how much. So the biggest one is 25 cents, so it covers the most. And then have visual posters up for kids. And auditory learning, use it'd be good to use headphones. Using math manipulatives makes math come alive. Apply the previous knowledge and technology. It helps when you use video clips. I was just wondering, the next one you can stop recording for the next slide.
I can stop recording. I can pause, sure.
I also wanted to ask the participants, why do you think we use manipulatives? And then I wrote some ideas that I had.
Does anybody have a comment? Julie says, hands-on learners.
Right. I agree, totally.
And Nicolette said, necessary for some and useful for all. Julie continues, it keeps them engaged.
Yes.
And Noreen says, the kids get excited when they see me bring them out.
Yes. So I just wrote a few things down here. It's a concept, the conceptual understanding. Someone already said it, it supports hands-on learning. Provides a powerful connection from abstract to from concrete to abstract. It represents and displays their thinking. So sometimes kids can show you how to do something with the manipulative, because in the beginning it's really hard to explain for a student. It's really hard for a student to explain their thinking. Solidifies learning concepts, problem-solving strategies, symbolic technology, and helps students understand math. And my students and I made a list of the things that we use the most. So for money, base 10, balance beam, the 3D nets, and the cubes, pattern blocks, and dry erase markers. And then centicubes, and then these are like spinners that we have to use at whiteboards always. Clocks, even though they took it out, we still use it. Even though, and the other thing too is I teach American money, and because we're close to the States, and you know, we also have relatives over there, so they have to know the money, so it's a good thing. We use rulers constantly for number lines and finding the middle. A lot of tracing paper for translations, like reflective, how we can flip things, rotational, and slides. We use mirrors, algebraic tiles, circles, rec and rec, square tiles, and colored squares we use those constantly. And I think there's some videos of us using that. We use the 100 grid all the time. Geometry sets, we have boxes of those, the rods, how to count, pizza sections constantly for fractions and showing the difference between greater and less than, place value sheets, circumference. I use just cans, and I put a hole in the middle for the middle, and we measure things, and I explain how to find the radius and what it is, and the diameter. We use a balance beam, the slide rule tape, 3D dice for games, two-sided circles for algebra. I mean integers. The 10 frame, you know, when they have to count by that first and get used to that, and a lot of cards. So here, one of my students there, see how they're working in their book. See these books that we have, each child has their own particular book based on the test that they were given. So each of these books is individualized to their learning. I can probably tell you that was in October because there's one of the hands there. We call that the helping hand. And so on the edge there, you can see that she's got 2 dimes there, and she's working out some kind of problem. And then on the other picture, this student, he's he's doing a little bit more complex. So he uses the white erase board. And if you can see the room in the back, see there's the clay, the PSH, that's a clay. So I'm probably getting ready to make the pumpkins. And see parallel lines in the back. So I use the bricks and I put lines on there to show that those lines are parallel and plus that there's not just two lines, there's many parallel lines there. And then what that means, it can be like, long as they're same distance apart, they're parallel. And also you can see where I'm probably doing a trapezoid area. And then I don't know what that ball's there for. Probably for yard duty. I probably had to take it away from somebody for not using it correctly. There's our balance beam. We actually have that one and use it. And then there's the symmetry and congruent shapes. The other thing is number talks. We have to teach the kids how to think and talk about math concepts using the proper math terminology. And I like this one about to inspire kids. If you could talk to yourself, like when you were little, what advice would you give yourself? And at the same time, if right from this day on, after this presentation, think about your future self in 10 years and what can you do now to make your future self a better person, a better teacher. And it says what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. So the power is within it. And I think that learning is a continuum of knowledge and you have to have fun. In math resource, a lot of the times the kids say, oh, time's up already, geez. Or else before, the other kids that were coming to class would say, come on, our turn, your turn to go, But when you're having fun, we have the math night that I was talking, the parents get involved, students, teachers, and even community members that aren't even at our school come. Another thing, we empower students, embrace knowledge while respecting and acknowledging our culture as we tap trees to make maple syrup. One of our teachers at our school, he makes maple syrup at our school with TA help. And the next thing was build on what students know. So they know their arm. So we're measuring their arm so that they know how long is a meter on your body. Like use your body and well, I know this is how far a meter comes. Just to get used to the measurement things. Instructional strategies. Who am I posters, getting to know students. Nobody can teach me who I am. You can describe parts of me, but who I am and what I need is something I have to find out myself. So it's self-discovery. And then they have to experience things. You will learn, you'll remember a concept if you have an experience that went with it. For example, the pumpkins. Those kids that made those pumpkins will always remember congruence and symmetry. And if they forget, then you can say, well, what about the pumpkins? I go, oh yeah. And also we do a lot of cooking. So when they're cooking, you kind of change it into a math thing. This one time I had a cooking class, and I forgot, well, purposely, I forgot some measuring tools, and there was a great big discussion about how they were going to measure this because I didn't have the right measuring cup. And so they all got together and they figured it out, problem solved, figured it out. So my kids are becoming great problem solvers. And here they're, you know, when you give a paper out and you give an assignment and usually the paper's all cut up. See, I didn't do that. With my kids, I gave them just a plain paper and they had to figure out how to make 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 equal parts and a title. So they had to figure all that out by measuring and figuring it all out. So one boy, he's just doing the measuring now. And the other boy, he's working away. And then the two girls, they already started working on their questions. So they have, what they're doing is making, it says the number of people in my family. And then she's going to put the answer and she'll cover it up. And then people have to try to guess who that person is. Then they'll draw a picture of themselves in the middle. It says, figure me out. And then here's, I just put a little picture of people going around trying to figure it. And I think we put these in the foyer so that not just our room was trying to figure out who was in there. We tried to make the school say, like, figure me out, who am I, and stuff like that. So these, the questions are on top and they have to cover up, and they find out, try to find out who it is. Another thing that we have to do, and it's really, really hard these days with all the curriculum we have to teach, is take time. Allow extra time to prepare for learning, respond, process, like time for them to think and to complete the work, and to allow time, extra time for that, and apply their work. So that's why I put this slide in. And then Michelle wanted me to talk about the math learning processes. It's problem solving, reasoning and proving, connecting, communicating, selecting tools. And I got this from the EduGains website and tips for RM. So this is from that from the EduGames site. So I do a lot of problem solving. So that's like the main gear there, the stable thing, and then everything works around that. So I believe problem solving is one of the best things to teach students to think for themselves. It's really hard in the beginning, but you just keep going at it. And so identify the problem, look for information, explore it, select the best ideas, build and test, and then look at your results. That's the hard thing too, is to, like, sometimes people just see numbers and add the first time when they first come in because they don't know what else to do. They're not familiar with the language of how problems are set up. But once you teach them how to do that, then they do learn. And then the next thing is, it's new. It's a Singapore math, is where it's the last picture here, and it's a 2-step problem. It says Mary has 120 more beads than Jill. So their M is Mary and J is Jill. So I also teach the kids to label their work. And so Singapore math is that they work with these bars and then to see the problem, and then you write it down. So these words I post in the class in our room, and when you see these words, you see sum, total, in all, perimeter. They're clue words. And one of the words that for subtraction that kids, it says how many more? So kids were having so much problem with that. They didn't know that when they saw how many more that it meant subtracting. Because how many is adding. Asking questions to deepen the understanding. How does the problem remind you of something that you've had before? What are the facts? What do you know for sure? That's important. So when you're reading the problem, what do you know for sure? Like, what's the data that you know? What's the question in the, what question is the problem asking? What strategies have you tried, trial and error? We know we learned from our mistakes. We don't know it yet. What strategy is helpful and what is the next step to solve the problem? Use the phrases to help you with any kind of words to give you a clue of what to do. And what kind of problem is it? Is it a 1-step, 2-step? And have you reread the problem without the numbers? If you ever have a problem, read the problem and take out the numbers. Sometimes it makes more sense. And then this here, this problem solving strategies, this is what the students and I came up with of how to solve problems. This is read the problem and underline the question. What are the facts? Circle those. Draw pictures, especially if you're a visual learner. Look at the operational words and highlight them. Look for a pattern. Reread the problem and leave out the numbers. Act it out, or like, especially with money, like sometimes they'll have a problem, and if you use money, it'll help. Just like that one girl using the money to help her with that other problem. Guess and check. Do a simpler question with easier numbers, or work backwards. For example, a work backwards one was a bus left the game with 28 people. At the first stop, half the people got out. At the second one, 1/4 of the people got off. There were 8 remaining people on the bus. How many people were there when they left the station or whatever? Just something like that where they have to work backwards. Another section is reasoning and proving. Students have to justify their thinking, explain their math process, teach students to become independent thinkers. Ask, how do you know? Show me. I say that all the time. Show me. Prove your answer, defend it. And they become really good at that after. And why did you think like that? Like what, why do you think that? Just ask those questions. Then there's connecting. Show how strategies connect to each other mathematically, so students realize that they are learning. Explain why. So so I teach cups, inches, feet, and yards still too. And somebody asked me the other day, they said, how come you're still teaching that? Like, you know, that's American. And I said, well, do you watch football? And they go, yeah, well, that's yard. So we should know what a yard is. And some flooring companies still use 12 by 12 squares. So that's 1 foot. 12 by 12 inches, so that's 1 foot. And currency. Point out when students are learning. They may not realize that they're learning. We were in a grade 8 class one time and we did this activity. And then I said, well, what did we learn? And then we started getting a recorder and we started writing it down on the board. And then we filled up the entire boards with what we learned in that lesson. And I said, now when you go home, you can tell your parent, you know, if they ask, what did you learn at school today? Instead of going around saying, oh, nothing. They can go and say, well, I learned this and this and this. So they left. And then I got on the phone and text parents. I said, ask your son or daughter what they learned today and see what they say. So it was really nice that we got a lot of good feedback after that. Communication is key to learning, and we encourage students to use the correct terms. One of the things that we did outside is we made a 4-square and we painted it, and we did Pythagorean theorem to make sure that it was square. I said you need to make sure that the hypotenuse is proper. So we had to, so then we they had to do that outside on the pavement. And then before we painted it, because when you painted it, it would become like permanent. So they used tape and chalk and everything. And after a while, when the kids were playing outside, they goes, hey, come see the hypotenuse I made over here. And they were so proud. It was great. Kids also have to know symbols, greater than, less than, and equal to. It's surprising. You think kids know what equal means, but when you throw 2 equations on either side with a unknown variable, they don't know. They'll go 7. Well, if it was turned around, if it was 3 times 5 on the when you first see it in that square, they would write 15. So, and I said, but does that side equal that side? So that's why we use the balance beam and put what is 3 times 5? So they put 15 on one side, and then they put 7 on the other side, and they go, oh, well, you know, we have to, okay, that's 8. And they go, well, I didn't see that before. And I went, so that's good to show it like that. Reflecting at the end of a lesson or to wrap up a unit to show what ideas were presented and to clarify thinking. Reflecting can reaffirm what you've learned, listening to others, and possibly learn a new way to solve problems. Like when you go around the room and people share, like not everybody shares, but some. And then reflecting on the feedback to see if you need to teach more on that lesson or rethink or revisit or just teach it a different way. Selecting tools and strategies, that's the manipulatives, and the hands-on strategies. And somebody, I like how somebody noticed that the kids got up and got the manipulatives right away. They knew where things are. Oh, I need you to stop again. There's another video I'd like to show.
Just watching if folks have comments in the chat. And if anyone wants to raise their hand, I can certainly give them their microphone. Michelle says manipulative used. Late Friday afternoon after a busy week, people may be getting
Right.
a little low on energy.
Yes. And I wanted to thank everybody for coming on a Friday afternoon after work.
Don't see, oh, Denise, yes, we know that Michelle's mic is off. Michelle put her comment in the chat, Denise.
Well, I'll just continue on because I have quite a few to finish up. Instructional strategies, teamwork, for sure. Always strive to empower students. Embrace the knowledge while respecting and acknowledging our culture. Change and adapt. You know, the pandemic, COVID-19, for online, paper packages, cohorts, hybrid, and back to nature because we're using, the students are going outside quite a bit now. And these are some of the tech. You can see the classroom in the bottom where everyone's on something, and then Symphony Math. Students are using that, and iPads, and reinforcing shapes. There's the reading pen to help students with if they have difficulty reading, and then the smart board. And some steps for better performance is buddy up. Ask a friend, teacher, or elder for help. Always look for patterns and practice, practice, practice. And here are some tangible math games that we always have. Well, we used to always have before COVID. We had math games every Friday. And then also once or twice a month we would cook. So here's some numeration games. We played a lot of cards and integer games where the red cards were negative and the black ones were positive, and kids would flip them and do integers. We also made up a game too, and that's coming up. I have a short video of that. Algebra is guessing games and leaving out things using the balance beam. I got the games for each subject here. So I really like the battleship one for alphanumeric grid because they use that in geography too. Venn diagrams is good. And then problem solving. I really like chess, but we used to have a teacher at our school and he taught chess after school. So those kids became good problem solvers. Okay, you're gonna have to do it again because I have that video of students. Get something to help them with that. Additional teaching methods, of course, group work. And this is where I was talking about earlier when I thought, when I had the pumpkin in pottery. But here we're making, the kids are all working together and doing group work, and are cutting out the pumpkin, and everybody's got like a little job, and we used every part of the pumpkin. And that was important too for our culture. And the kids helped, like I said, so what are we gonna do with that mushy part in the middle of the pumpkin? Because we toasted the seeds, we made pumpkin pie. And they said, oh, we can take it out and we can, it'll help the earth. That's what they said. And then these are pizza snakes. And so it's just all the measuring and learning about that. And then again, math night, right? So organization is key. The curriculum, to understand it, make a plan and cover most of your expectations. And you can cover them all if you combine them into a project and get a lot of marks from there. Culture and gender. Use your values from your culture, like we're Haudenosaunee. So we provide, try to use respect in the language and treat others the way you want to be treated. And then lesson plans. That could be like a whole another half hour or so. But plan to motivate, include student voice. That is really, really important. I had this one class and they said, oh, Ms. Martin-Abel, can we make this? Can we do this? And I said, if you can find it in the curriculum, I can justify it at the office that we can do it. So they looked through it and it was really cool. They looked through it and then they said, yeah, it's right here. It's right here. We can do it. And then so I went home from their student suggestions. I made a plan at home, brought it to school the next day, let the principal know. And then we did the activity and the kids were so involved. It was awesome. Just everybody was learning so much. It's just, I wish I could have recorded some of it. And begin with a warm-up activity like we did in the beginning. Introduce the tasks, the rules, give them time to explore and to wonder. And make sure you provide the tools and allow for making mistakes. That's okay. And then reflect and enhance and rebuild and plan your next step. And then I did a full lesson plan here, but like I said, that's going to take a really long time. This was on making the pumpkins. And so it was a 2D shape to a 3D. And then I just put everything in there and that's how I made it. And then I put like materials. You got to make sure you plan all that out and get everything that you need. And how we got started. I told a little story about this pot here. Because I took a workshop with Steve and he's a great potter, Steve Smith. In fact, his dad is the namesake of our school. So it's important that the kids learn about him. And then working on it, I just put it all together, but I'm not going to go through it because it's going to take too much time. And then reflecting and connecting. And then always ask yourself, did the 3-part lesson support your learning that you wanted to do? Did it spark interest? And do you need to change it for the next time or keep going? And then here are 3 different exit cards. 3, 2, 1, 3. It's like you don't use them all. You just use some of them. They can just put a little bit of writing before they leave the class for recess to fill it out, because if you don't, then they might not do it. Things I learned, things I found interesting, questions I still have. That's for you, right? So the teacher. Things I can teach someone, things I'm excited about, and things I'm still not sure of. And then the last one is green go. It says what I learned and how I'm going to use what I learned. The amber is just tell me a different way of learning this. And reads, it was supposed to be read, not read. Stop. It says, I need help. Always teach from within. Whatever you have. And can one person make a difference? I believe so. To always have hope. Give real help. And your gift. I was told that everybody has a gift. You just have to find out what that gift is and then use that gift because the creator gave you that gift. And sometimes you can help others with that to find their gift. Show that you care and be the difference. So there's the resources, some of them, and if there's any questions.
I wish you could see all the chat, Deborah. I don't want to scare you, but I do think if you click with your cursor on your screen, you might just bring back the toolbar that shows the chat. But I can see so many wonderful comments. Going back a little bit, folks liked how the last student was able to work through that problem on her own and adapted when she didn't have the right fraction. Denise commented, we don't teach a curriculum, we teach learners. And a lot of just thanks, this was great. People thanked you for giving credit to some of the sources you used. Kudos, Deborah, people really appreciate this. And great tips. Thank you, Deborah. This was fantastic. So you've got a lot of fans today. Thank you. I'm wondering if I could call on Rhonda Davis from the Ontario Native Literacy Coalition to add her thanks. Go ahead, Rhonda. Rhonda, your mic is muted, but if you click the microphone icon, there you go.
There we go. I think I got it.
Yes, you have.
Okay. Hi, Deb.
Hi.
We just want to thank you for such an interesting and informative webinar. We want to thank everybody for attending. It was great. I really enjoyed it, and I think everybody else enjoyed it by looking at all the comments. Before everybody leaves, if they could fill out the survey, we would appreciate that. So I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much, Rhonda and Deborah. Do you have any last comments you'd like to make?
No. One of the things I was working with one of the girls at the office, and just a kind of a little story about when it says can you make a difference? And you probably already heard this one when, you know, with this person walking along the beach and they had all those starfish along the side, right? And saw this person picking up one and throwing it back into the ocean and kept throwing one back in, and there were so many on the ocean. I mean on the beach, and the person came up to them and said, well, why are you doing that? And they said, well, you know, that starfish is gonna live now. I threw it back in the water, and they said, well, there's so many, you know. And I said, well, you saved that one's life. So just do what you can.
What a wonderful way to close. So I will also add to Rhonda's plea that if you haven't already, that you fill out the webinar survey after this wonderful presentation. I will stay, but I will stop the recording in case anybody has any questions or needs more time to get that link from the chat. So I too will wish everyone a wonderful weekend, and hope that everyone stays safe. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're most welcome, Rhonda. It was a pleasure to meet you here, Deborah. You did a great job with the technology.
Good job.
I try.